Okay. Yeah. It's 10:30 a.m. on Thursday, August 21st. I hereby call the regular meeting of the Cambria Community Services Board of Directors Fire Protection Standing Committee to order. We have four members here. One is an excused absence, Mr. Stafford. He's, I think, listening in remotely, but he's not participating in the meeting. So therefore, we have a quorum. I do not have a chair report per se, though. I'd like to say, thank you, staff, for being here. We have Mr. McElhaney is remote, but he's available, as I understand, by phone if we want to talk to him. I mean, Chief, I think you have a pipeline to him. So if we have any questions that he can only answer during our discussions, we can reach him. On item 1D, meeting member and staff communications. Let me start with staff, Chief, just to give us an update on your activities that are, especially obviously in the wildfire prevention area and so forth. What's been going on, so we can, and we have, some questions we can ask.
Yeah, so we've been, continuing with our neighborhood liaison program. I feel like we've completed the areas that we had scheduled, which were Marine Terrace, we had Top of the World, Lodge Hill West. We also have been down at Park Hill. And there was another one independently of the one we scheduled down in Sea Cliff Estates, which went really well. That was just ran by one of the liaisons on their own. So they did a great job at coordinating that. So we're looking right now at some dates to have another formal meeting with kind of the entire group of people so we can kind of work with that. So that's been going really well. I think we've gotten a lot of good feedback and a lot of positive replies from that, from those meetings, and so it's very encouraging on those, that type of feedback. The weed abatement, I believe, is almost completed. Paradise has completed all of the required lots that we have. I think we're still in the process of confirming some of those lots and confirming some of the bills that are needing to go out, but those have been handled. And I think that this year went a lot better than last year. There were still some hiccups in some areas for sure. And we're still working on kind of improving the system, as we always will be. But I thought it went a lot better than it did last year. So I think success, for this year. If any, we're still working on a couple of areas again. There's, not only this with the fire hazard fuel reduction program, but also with the improved lots and trying to make sure that we're kind of, that's relatively new to us with the ordinance coming out this year. So we're working on trying to get that pushed through. And so if there are any issues with improved lots, please let us know. Continue the communication. We'll get that taken care of. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions from the committee?
No, but I'd like to add
Mr. Pierce.
a little bit more from our meeting yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Strawberry Canyon has been mostly finished. They did an excellent job of going in there and cleaning out the invasive plants, cleaning the forest floor a bit and that kind of thing. There's also work going on in the Lemert area on 3 different large properties where they're going to go in and do the same thing that they've been doing up at Covell. Where they go in and they thin the trees and they take out the dead and dying trees and they clean up the forest floor. The forest health. The Fire Safe Council also added a couple more properties in the Lemert area and the East Ranch area up to the lodge. Okay, that hill there, and then going up onto the lodge property to clean up that area. On the east side of Burton or the west side of Burton? On the east is towards the garden shed is what I'm thinking. East is towards the hardware store.
yeah, towards
In the hardware.
the other
stores,
place,
it's-
the garden shed thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
That-
so we
whole
did
thing.
that like 4 years ago.
Yeah,
It probably needs it again, but that isn't the area.
okay,
The areas, they're on Rodeo,
Right.
Drive, and a little bit on Burton.
okay.
You know,
All the way up, all
All
the way
up to
down.
the
on
lodge,
East Ranch.
basically, right?
onto the lodge.
Where the stairs
Lodge
are?
has Given us
Yeah.
permission to do some of the area that they
Okay,
have,
how far down does it go from there?
All the way down.
All the way down to
all the way down to the.
Highway 1?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so all that area has been put into the next grant funding, okay, we should have word on that, whether we got that grant or not in, October.
okay, that's the area I was gonna ask.
I was gonna say, yeah, Louis, that's Air Force
That
housing
includes
is there, right?
The whole,
The whole
below Air
strip.
Force housing there? Would that include that or
Yeah, it sounds
not?
like it does.
That goes all the way from the Air Force housing, it goes from,
Air Force,
it goes from the dog park basically all the way to Highway 1 up on that hill on,
Is
it's
that-
all Air Force, old Air Force housing goes from the East Ranch all the way up that hill. It's
Yeah.
mostly,
property that is owned by the CCSD
Right.
is being taken care of,
okay,
Yeah.
that on that part.
yeah,
Lodge has given us
Okay.
permission to do some of their area
okay.
and clean up some of the
And that's under the same grant.
trees, so they said, oh, yeah.
Yes, oh, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Okay.
Now, when the guys get close to that area there, they could ask those property owners, do you want us to continue up, and they could, you know, give us the okay and everything.
Well, yeah, well, I'm saying that the it's called Pacific Pines now, but the old Air Force housing has a line, fence around it that goes down to their property line. They cleaning that, they should be able to go up to that
Right.
fence without going up into anyone else's property. But of course, we would allow them to come up from Slade's property if they wanted to do that.
Yeah, all you'd have to do is sign, you know,
Yeah,
typical letter.
Like a release, yeah.
okay.
Are the larger lots on Lamert cleaned by grant funding or are
Yes,
those,
grant funding.
and why aren't the owners paying for that?
The cost to those owners would be extravagant.
These are big lots.
They
These aren't
came
the,
to us, yeah,
these are the big ones. These are,
acres. and-
yeah, they're the ones that are out on way out on Catherine Drive and that area.
Catherine Drive
Yeah.
and
They're
Cambria
not the-
Pines, okay?
Yeah.
I don't have a map here in
Yeah.
front of me, but it
Yeah.
goes all the way to Highway 1,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And we're taking care of that.
Well,
Also doing a lot of work on this branch.
Right.
For free,
Right.
okay, basically, okay, but what we're trying to do is get the Monterey Pine Forest back to health again. Okay, and that's by doing the work that a fire would normally do, okay, cleaning out the bottom,
Right.
cleaning out the dead dying trees and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wanted to actually interject here with a question. You mentioned the ranch. There was big discussion, as you know, probably last week about, who's responsible for maintenance on the ranch, and that's an ongoing issue. But I wanted to get clarity and maybe explanation as to, you know, a lot of, and there's a couple letters you'll notice too in our file, our agenda file online about this. There is a large area of the ranch which is due for work. At some point, in the coming year, which is, you know, which has now been, is being talked about as a hazard. It is hazardous. But we are not, CCSD is not gonna have to pay for that work. This is a CAL FIRE Forest Health Grant, and maybe that should be, you can maybe explain that, what's gonna happen, because most of the area that's the forested area is going to get treated, just as Dave was saying, again, get the undergrowth away and clear it. And leave the healthy
We're
trees.
talking about Fiscalini Ranch.
Fiscalini Ranch, yeah. So maybe it's good to explain, I mean, Chief, maybe you could explain what's going on, or David.
Yeah, basically the west part that hasn't been treated before, because we have gone in there and done selective areas before. But now the rest of the west area that hasn't been treated, okay, will now go in and we'll do that. And as part of that, we're also going to do some planting, because there's some areas where it makes sense to plant new trees. And so we'll be doing that as part of that grant also.
And this is next, is it after the rainy
I don't think
season?
it's gonna happen until, some of it may happen this fall,
Yeah.
but I think the majority of the work is gonna happen
Next.
next late spring.
Mhm.
Okay, because in the winter time, they send the crews to Paso Robles and Atascadero, the hot areas, right? And they do that so that the guys don't have to go there. Okay, and then in the late spring, after things dry up a little bit, they normally hit, the Cambria area.
Sorry. So, yeah, and excuse my interruption. Any more questions for the chief?
Well, I had one question that came from a long time ago. At one point, I was reading in this whole restoration point, it said that the West Visconti Ranch will not ever have a prescribed burn done on it. Is there any reason why that is?
Just to the immediate threat to the community, really. I mean,
Is that what it
yeah,
is?
yeah,
Yes.
100%. I mean, I can't see a timing where, I mean, you might be able to do what they did in Rancho Moreno or down in like where there are little piles of
Pile
burn.
short
But
stuff.
a prescribed burn to go through that entire area would be disastrous, not only for the threat to the community, but also for the environmental hazards that are in there. So just as they're doing in Strawberry Canyon, they're selecting the areas that they want to protect the native plants or the rare plants, and even the animals that are down there, they're trying to protect those areas. Fire wouldn't do that. Fire would just come through and annihilate the entire thing. So this is I mean, although we look at fire as being,
Yeah, that's your man. Yes.
yeah, although we look at fire as being healthy for the forest, which it is, but the threat is just way too high for all of those factors. I wanted to touch base on the lodge. Dave mentioned the lodge a little bit. So that whole area that along Burton, I've been working with the lodge and I have a meeting with I had a meeting before, but with the Coastal Commission and then now with RCD and Dan Turner to how does that the permit and everything, how does it affect that area along Burton as well? So that's I'm working on that. I know that's been brought up a lot as far as that kind of threat, not only on the one side, but also down into the canyon of where so we're working on how does that permit affect that area, because in the past it hasn't been mitigated for a long time. So we're trying to make sure that we're working in all the areas of the lodge, not just that down area. It's just so we're clear on that too. So,
Okay.
Any more questions? I will actually ask for, if anybody wants anybody makes want to make public comment on the staff communications section. Do I have any public comment? No, requests. I'll go to committee member communications, and this is just if you have some individual report on your activities that are relevant to fire prevention or fire protection, or you have a question, brief question. I will hold off for the ad hoc reports till the next item. And I know there's one ad hoc committee that's been active at least. First of all, just in community members, anybody have any comments, questions that are not covered elsewhere?
And one comment is,
George Gordon.
we have still active search program, is that correct or not? And just so do they support the fire chief's activities in certain areas, or what do they do?
you said CERT?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so the program is still, and it's, I wouldn't say it's 100% functioning as of now. We're still in the process of kind of revamping it. And it's been a process, just to try and make sure that our structure is in line with the rest of the county, and then also works for our area too. But so they're absolutely supportive. But we are still in the process of making sure that we get all of that structure taken care of before we kind of set it free. And
My understanding is they're trying to put together the SLO County search as a coordinated units to,
I
have you heard of
don't,
that type of activity? Paso Robles is probably leading that.
yeah, that'd be great. I don't know exactly how that, I haven't reached out to the other CERT programs. But, I'd be happy to and talk with them. That'd be, yeah, for coordinating the entire county, that'd be even better.
And John Spooner's the one.
Yeah.
Heads that up. But that's something I didn't know. For utilizing certs, at one time it was sort of, they were more active and training and.
Yeah,
all
Yeah,
those
they-
things, so let's know what we're doing now.
yeah, the hope is that putting them in and once we get it, brought back up to speed, that they are more involved. That's the goal. I think for a while, it just kind of fell to the side. It wasn't really as regulated as it
Right.
necessarily needed to be. So we're trying to bring that back in so we can get them more involved. And yeah, that's what I said that.
They could do inspections and actually do leadership for these seminars. If it's taken away from your personnel to do these. It might be great support for them to, so they're knowledgeable and
Yeah, there's,
where all your needs for what they should be doing for properties, et cetera. Anyway, I didn't know if we were utilizing them in the future, it would be good.
Yeah,
Just to note, the, Bloomfield County is in a red flag situation from now until Saturday, so be aware. You're traveling in the rest of the county, they're in a red flag. We aren't supposed to be. Hopefully, our winds will stay down, but
Mhm.
the rest of the county is in.
And of course, we always, if the fire gets ahead of steam, starting in the hot areas, it could come down here pretty fast too, with just under its own momentum. Its own wind is the word. So, yes, it's easy in Cambria to forget how hot it is, 20 miles away.
Any you guys give her file? Give her file?
Fire is pretty well out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty long. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a full report on it yesterday, and it's basically out.
Good. Ad hoc committee reports. And I noticed some brief reporting from the committee that's working on the wildfire protection plan update. Either Ron or
Gordon and I met and looked at the Cal Poly stuff that they put out, and we just basically went through the new proposals and looked at what the old proposals were and just kind of made some notes. So we're kind of still tracking it, putting it all together, but we have a few items of updates that we'll have to, we haven't met with Putney yet, so we don't know, we're going with that part of it. But we've got a few of the new updates on things that are proposed that sound like they should be inserted into the new thing. So it's kind of there.
Yeah.
We just got to put it all together.
I'm sure pretty confident you can produce a draft. for the next meeting.
It's a deadline on that.
Yeah.
Don't we have to get that done by October, September?
yeah.
Next meeting, we were supposed to get it.
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, and have a draft ready,
Yeah.
which then can be, and the meeting is the 17th, so it's 2 weeks before the deadline, basically, when you have the draft ready for staff to massage or whatever they have to do, and, get it in. I think we have enough time. So as long as you guys are gonna get done on the 17th, we're good.
Putney hasn't come up yet.
I got that.
So is that relate to the 218 that's being discussed today? Is fire protection, and then we have fire protection, those two different
Yeah, those are two
events,
different.
or what's?
Yeah, that's two different.
Those are similar things in there we're trying to note in the.
In the
agenda.
plan,
Yeah.
So I just didn't know what.
They're different, they're not legally, they're not connected in the sense one has to be done
That's
with
what-
the other and so forth. Yeah, they're on different tracks.
Cause it overlaps, is
Different
what I
track.
noticed in the agenda.
Some of the things on the
Different.
wildfire preparation thing will coincide with the 218,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not sure what we do.
Okay,
That's it.
any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll move forward. This is a time for public comment on items that are, this is a regular meeting, items that are not on this agenda, but are relevant to this committee's jurisdiction and activities. First, I'll call for any comment in-house by our staffers and the public, and anybody online who wishes to comment, please raise your hand. Okay, so we'll move on. Consent agenda. It's consideration to approve the July 8th, 2025 special meeting minutes.
Tom,
What?
you have a lead.
Oh, wait, I do have wait. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Oh, there you are. This is, you are, Terry Addition,
Correct.
Fresno, okay. Please proceed.
I live in Lamert and I am curious to know how I can help keep my neighborhood informed of issues going on in our community on fire safety, and I manage a neighborhood roster and I send out emails periodically to the neighborhood. And so I saw this meeting come up. I didn't share this because I didn't really know what went on in these meetings, but is there some kind of information or someone I can connect with to get information that could be shared within our neighborhood?
A very good question, and we have the chief here to answer. I mean, chief, do you want to answer? Because it's exactly what we've been trying to do, have set up a system of liaisons and neighborhood groups. Yeah.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for bringing that up. So, because we don't have currently a liaison in Lamert. So if you wouldn't mind, please contact me. My information's on the CCSD website. And that I can give you all of the information that you need, that you're requesting, and I can get you set up in the right direction for sure. And if you need assistance getting on the website, I can assist you with that as well.
Can you provide me a phone number or an email address?
Sure, yeah, I can give you my phone number right now. So it's area code 805-635-5982.
Okay.
And is there a way to put on the chat? Is there a chat in there? that
There's,
gives my
and,
email?
and the email is always
It's,
M Berkey.
Yeah.
It's MBURKEY, first initial, last name, at CambriaCSD.org. Cambria, letter CSD.org. So MBURKEY for Michael Berkey.
Yeah.
That's the email.
So the other opportunity would
Yeah,
be
it's
for
Dave.
you to join the Cambria Fire Safe Focus Group, which meets every Tuesday at 3 o'clock at the Presbyterian Church. Not every Tuesday, every fourth Tuesday
Yeah.
of the month at the Cambria Presbyterian Church at 3 o'clock. So if you'd like to come to those meetings, we talk a lot about fire protection and what can be done in the community and stuff. So that would be another opportunity for you to get lots of information.
Is that on Zoom too?
Yeah, it's on Zoom too, so if I can get your email address, I can send you the emails to get you the meeting information and how you can zoom in.
How can I provide my email address to you? Just, you want it right now or?
No,
If you-
no, I don't want everybody to know your email.
I was gonna say-
Yeah, just say, oh, you're public now.
if you contact me, I'll be able to put you in contact with
Yeah.
Dave and get you lined up for that,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay,
It gives you-
sounds
You have
good.
my information now, yeah.
Okay.
No. So, yeah, thank you for that question. It's, it sounds like it was very timely because we need a liaison in that neighborhood. Now, just so I'm clear, are you a full-time resident of Cambria? Because your online ID says you're in Fresno.
Well, I live here most of the time. I do have a home in Fresno, but I only go there a few days a month, but I have grandchildren there. And that's where I came from. So
Okay, great. Thank you.
I probably
So
should
you're
update my online ID. I didn't realize what it was, so I will do that.
Cambria resident then. Okay, that's good to know. It's just good to
Yes,
note
I
that
am.
in the record when we know it. Okay, thank you. Anybody else online or in-house who wants to speak? Okay, move on then to consent agenda. This is the consideration to approve the July 8th, 2025 special meeting minutes. And in this case, if anybody has any corrections or to make, speak up now. And
So I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
second, been moved by committee member Pearson, seconded by committee member Heinrichs to approve the minutes. I'll call a roll. Mr. Pearson,
Aye.
Mr. Heinrichs,
Aye.
Mr. DeLuca,
Aye.
and Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
The motion is approved 4-0. Before we go on, I want to note for the record, so we we have this on the minutes too. There are 4 staff members here in addition to, Chief Berkey and, administrative assistant Haley Dodson. I see Craig, I see, it's just, maybe just sound off, just so we get, Craig Brooks,
Christian Evers.
Christian Everett,
Tyler Loudermilk.
Tyler Loudon,
Michael Castellanos.
Michael Castellanos are all fire, either fire engineers or fire captains, actually are here. If you will note that for the record. Moving on, regular business. These are items 4A and 4B, you'll notice are sort of a package because, one of them, the first one is the discussion of, the benefit assessment process and how it would work for fire protection spending, fire protection programs, capital needs and so forth. And then the next item, 4B, is report from the staff and the fire chief, kind of giving us the first look at the list of needs and priorities that we would be plugging into this process essentially as we went forward with it. So in the logical order of things, they kind of go together, but we want to kind of separate the two issues. One is just how it would work, and what, to me, the most interesting question is what qualifies for funding under the benefit assessment process and how it's different from election. It's actually quite different from election. And then we'll come, having discussed that and where our progress is on that, we will talk about exactly what would be the most appropriate items to put into an assessment package, essentially, which is item 4B. In either case, we're just sitting here, we're not making any votes or making any specific recommendations. I think we want to give guidance to the staff through our discussion and maybe a sort of a consensus as they go to refine these proposals, because we're not quite at the point where we have numbers, cost estimates and things that we need. And we haven't filled the details in. So this will help staff, our discussion, they hopefully will help staff fill the details in and decide whether and when we go forward. So I'll turn over the floor to Mr. Pearson for 4A to present his what he's found, and he's we had one conversation with at least with one of these consultants, and so take it away, and we'll have questions, I'm sure.
So I had a good discussion with Mr. Voss, who's from SCI. That's AAS.
Mhm.
And got a lot of good information. Number one is I misled everybody, I think, last time about how this all happens. So there's no county involvement. We don't have to meet any particular schedule other than what we set. All of the activity is done in-house by Haley will do most of the work with the assistant of the consultant that is hired. Okay? It's not during the election time.
Mhm.
It is whenever we want to schedule the election, if you want to call it, or the voting, okay, to happen. Okay? So Mr. Ross recommended spring or fall. And the reason he said that was because that's when people would get the letter, okay, that are sent out. That's how the ballots are done. They're sent out to the homeowner, not to the home, not to the address in town, but the address of the owner, wherever they happen to be. And remember that Cambria has probably 35% of our people are out of, they don't live here.
Part-time, yes.
Okay, so those people are going to get to vote, not people that are renting those spaces or whatever, okay? So he recommended spring or fall because he said that's when people are, getting their mail more regularly. You don't want to do it over the holidays, obviously, because people are, and he also said during Cambria, based on my experience, you'd certainly want to avoid May and June because those months seem to be when everybody is in Europe or in Asia or something, traveling in this town. So, again, you choose the consultant leads you through the process, okay? When you get the process complete, then you send out the ballots, basically with the information on exactly what is going to happen. And those ballots go out, they have 45 days to return the ballot. And then the ballots are then counted on that 46th day, okay? The ballots that are returned are the only ones that count, quote unquote, okay? And you need a majority of those ballots, 50% plus one, to approve the assessment in order for it to take effect. It then takes effect the following fiscal year. It will go on the property tax bill. All right, so if we were to wait until next fall, for instance, and do this in September, October of next year, then if it was approved, then in July, it would go on people's property tax bill. Okay, and we would get the benefit of that money during that fiscal year. Okay, yes.
If I understand, the proposals correctly, especially SCI's proposal, it's a two-step process. There's an initial assessment, really an attitude survey or survey research survey that goes out to assess the probability that you would have a successful outcome. Is that correct?
Well, that's what they propose, okay? That's not necessarily, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, but the consultant that we choose may or may not propose to do that, okay? If you look at the other proposal that we got, they talk about doing that, but not to the extent of what SCI does. SCI specifically says, we are definitely going to take that as a step. They talk about a 6-step process. So one of the first things that you have to do is you have to get a ballpark idea as to what the money is going to be. So that when you do this survey, you know, people are gonna say, well, how much is it gonna be? Is it gonna be $30 a year or is it gonna be $200? Okay? So you've gotta go get that basic assessment kind of idea as to how much money it's gonna be, right? And some of that work is already done for them because of the one that was done back in 2004. Okay, because the benefit, I believe, will be follow the same kind of thing. Remember that your property may not get as many votes as my property, okay? Or you may get more than mine, okay? In the one that was done in 2004, they made a separation at some point around 2,000 square foot. If your house is less than 2,000 square foot, you get 1 vote. If your house is more than 2,000 square foot, you get 1.5 votes. That kind of thing, okay? Because it's more valuable to you because your house is more valuable, they hire insurance.
Yeah. I thought the vote was weighted by assessed value. The vote on your vote on the actual election was weighted. In other words, your assessed value is $1 million.
No,
It's not, so it's not.
it's on the engineering thing because people who live next to the ranch, like you,
Yeah.
okay, are more at risk.
Mhm.
Okay, so they may get more votes. Tom may get 2 votes, okay, to my 1 vote, because I'm not as close to the ranch as he does, okay? And that engineering work gets done by the consultant, okay, to make it a assessment based upon the risk, okay, of the benefit.
Yeah.
You know, the
And
benefit is
the
taking care of
assessment may
the
be
risk.
more too, though. The assessment may
How
be
does that get
proportionally more.
communicated to the individual
In the ballot,
landowner?
in the ballot. Okay, and that letter that goes out, and they get 45 days to review that letter and vote, turn it back in.
Everyone is individualized.
Yes.
Whoa,
Everyone is individualized. Okay,
whoa,
so,
that's a
you
lot of
know,
work.
so it also goes with the assessment, okay? So if Tom gets 2 votes, I get 1 vote, his assessment will be twice mine. His assessment may be $200, and that would be $100, right? So the assessment and the voting match,
Mhm.
okay? An empty lot, last time. An empty lot got a half vote, okay? Because, you know, their risk may be high, or their lot to burn.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're not gonna lose their house.
Is there like an inspection of each individual house or something? Because like, I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but my house is more fire safe than the one next to me. And we're both on the same side of the ranch or whatever. Would my assessment,
That's a good question for the consultant.
that
I'm
would,
not sure that's,
because if I harden my place, his can still catch my place on fire because they didn't do their job, you know what I mean? But that doesn't seem like that would work out too well.
Well,
Just
there
look
is-
at an individual.
yeah, the risk may be the same.
Yeah,
But I've never seen anything that says they're gonna go house to house to house to look at every one, okay? They're gonna do it basically by square footage and the amount of property you've got.
They, in the proposals, they talk about going to the assessor's office and deriving that information from the assessor's rolls.
Yes, they will do that. That's part of the overall engineering process is to get all of that information.
They get everybody's address that way too.
So even if you have a very small lot, if you've got a $4 million house on it, okay, you'll end up being assessed more than somebody that's got a larger lot but has a $1 million house on it.
Did you have any discussion about special versus general benefits and how that distinction works?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
We didn't have any discussion on that.
Yeah.
Let me.
Go ahead,
finish with the other-
continue, finish, I want, you know, I gotta get away.
Only homeowners vote, okay? It's not like a regular election where if you live in town and you're registered to vote there, you get to vote. That's not the way it works, okay? People in LA that own a house here are gonna be voting on this, okay? Yes, Mr. Haas was very adamant that they won't do the work unless they do this feasibility part of it, okay, which is where they email, call people and get a feeling as to whether it will pass or not. Because if they come back after that and they say, gee, this will never pass, they stop.
And didn't that have a specific price on it, what they,
Yes.
yeah, that part was specifically priced out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, so the thing is that if we get back a lot of pushback on what you're proposing to do, we will
That's it.
stop. And we will say, we recommend to you that you do not go forward. Okay.
I read both of the proposals. One is a fixed fee proposal, SCI's is fixed fee. Very minor increases and, matter of fact, they state the maximum amount of additional costs for staff. The second proposal is wide open. It is highly variable, which means you don't know what the sucker is gonna cost you, which I find unusual in the public bidding process.
Yeah, well, really, this is a consulting, okay, so you're not held to the same standards of you have to take a low bid, low responsible bid, or any of that kind of stuff.
We're not,
Okay, no, this is an RFP, request for proposal,
okay,
not a request for bid,
okay,
okay? Very different things. On a request for proposal, you get the proposals in and then you interview these people. They make sure that you understand exactly what they're going to do for exactly how much money.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we were to get 3 proposals, okay, hopefully we would. Then we bring those people in and talk to them and you get, you know, to decide, yes, I like these guys. I think they have a good approach. It's the right approach for Cambria and the price is reasonable, right? Or you go, these guys don't know Cambria from Shinola.
Right.
Okay, and they're out.
What I think he was referring to is like I think it was the SCI, the first one, they gave you a price for everything. The other one just said, well, if you talk to this guy, it's gonna be this much an hour, it depends on how much that conversation is. They don't,
Right.
yeah, so that
So you-
seems kind of
When you actually get.
iffy, yeah.
Kind of like hiring a lawyer.
The bidding process, you nail it down in the bidding process, basically, what they would cost. At this point, well, one of them is very fluid, but you don't actually do the bid. You don't go, let's just say that you don't choose a bidder until you've nailed down the price.
Yeah.
The terms and
You know,
prices, unless there's always a little bit of expenses
The
that are
the
still
staff
not defined.
and the board of directors would have to
Yeah.
interview all three candidates to decide
Yeah.
which one to choose.
Right, I get that, but I guess what I'm seeing is, say they choose the second one that was just hourly. Just for whatever reason. Now, the first guy, he already has figured out it's gonna take him, I'm just assuming it's gonna take him X number of hours to do that, so they know what it's gonna cost. Second company, well, they might do it in the same amount of time or shorter, and then
Yeah.
it's gonna cost you,
Well, I wouldn't even,
Yeah,
I wouldn't take the second
right,
company, NBI.
Yeah.
Without them giving us a fixed firm
Yeah,
price
this,
to do
okay,
the work that we want done.
yeah, I think we.
I see what you're.
Just
okay,
before you
yeah.
go on, before you go on, just so it keeps things on track. We're not assessing these proposals,
No.
comparing to each other at this point. We're talking more about the process and what the proposals tell us about the process and whether the process,
I have a question
Yeah.
about the process.
okay, that's good.
And that is, what do you consider the value of, they talk about a stratified randomized, survey of owners to see what the probability is that
It will pass.
such a benefit, the benefit assessment would pass.
Yeah.
What's our experience with that kind of pre-assessment balloting survey, and whether it's worth whether it's worth the money that it would cost to do that part of the survey, that part of the bidding process? Because they talk about it in phases. SCI talks about it in phases, and seems to be adamant about that particular part of the process. Do we have any experience here in the room about the value of that?
After talking to him, my assessment would be that you should definitely do that. Because there are so many people that are out of town, okay? And because we're adding another tax we've had a lot of rate increases in the last
Yeah.
5 years, okay? So there's going to be pushback from a number of people, okay? That, okay, here's another tax that you're adding on again to us, right? So I think getting that solid feeling that yes, this will pass before you spend the rest of the money to go forward. Because a large part of the money is actually doing the engineering work to figure out who gets assessed how much, okay, and who gets how much of a vote. Okay, that's gonna take, as you saw by your proposal, that's a large part of the expense. And if you can avoid doing that expense and then having the thing fail, I think that's a great idea. Okay, so I would say you have to do that. You should get a feel for whether it's going to pass or not before you proceed farther.
My personal opinion is we need to do a lot of community outreach to make it clear to the community the fire risks that we actually have, we're bound to suffer, or we're possibly going to suffer. Unless we sensitize the community and let them know this is a big problem and it's worth the money, the additional benefit assessment money
Yeah.
to protect us. I would, just as a homeowner, I would say that sucker's gonna be voted down. Oh, we're already paying for a fire department. So, I would add another phase to this process.
Well,
And that would be
they
the
talk about-
pre-phase of
Yeah,
community,
yeah,
I know we're doing a lot of community outreach, but we still are, we gotta get that into the face of the people who don't live here.
Yes,
Yeah, then now,
yeah, SCI
yeah.
talks about doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay, having town halls
Mhm.
and calling people and getting the process to them, sending out mailers to people to explain
Mhm.
why we need it and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're going to do that. And I believe NBI would too.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, that's gonna be a process and that's gonna take a while to do, okay? He initially said, if you wanna get this money for next fiscal year, starting next July, okay, you've gotta get this done in the spring. Which means that you'd have to sign up a consultant by October at the very latest,
Exactly.
okay?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we're gonna make that time frame. I think that we really need to, get 3 proposals, talk to the people, get the consultant on board that we choose, and let them start that process of education, outreach, and surveying before we go any further, okay? And I think that's the important thing to do on this assessment. Because if you're going to even be close to failure on this thing, there's no reason, to spend all the money
Yeah.
to go.
Just on that, maybe sort of following up on what Art's saying about what needs to be done, kind of to set the foundation, lay the groundwork. What do the consultants need from us in the way of detail, both in terms of cost and in terms of things being bought, things being paid for? Does it have to be a fairly, detailed estimate of how much the assessment would be? And do we have, and I think it's a good idea anyway, to have a, pretty well detailed set of proposals as to what we're gonna do, with it, and where the money's gonna be spent. But do they kind of need that, don't they, before they even
Well-
start working?
They will help generate that too. One of their things is that they will meet with Denise and with the chief, okay, and they will say, okay, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Are you going to add all these things or do you not need that? They're gonna try to keep it as small as possible so it has a better chance of passing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've got to get all of the benefit done that you want to get done, because you don't want to turn around 5 years later and try to do this again.
Yeah.
Because that will really be a disaster.
I guess that would bring me to, do we have a plan B? If the assessment fails, we know that fire department
Well, I have a
needs the, well, okay, but I'm saying,
I have a plan A,
plan A,
much better than this.
okay, but I'm just saying, let's just, devil's advocate, it does fail, but we know that the fire department needs this equipment and they need all these things. How are we gonna get it to them? Or it's either gonna be give it to them some way and find it, or you're gonna lose your fire department. That's what it's gonna come down to, because at some point, it's gonna get too expensive to keep funding it out of people's pockets. That makes sense?
That's a large that's a big
I know.
conversation. I mean, because we go back to even all the board meetings we
Yeah.
had. where the general fund money's being used and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's a big, I mean, I don't wanna say, well, let's just wait and see and put it in the, you know, the communities. It's really up to the community and what they want. If it was voted no, you know, then I think we'd have to, yeah, I don't know.
That's an elementary question. What's the committee's role in this?
I'll go back to what I said, at the beginning. We're trying to give some guidance to the staff, as to, you know, how to go forward with this. Essentially, we're not recommending, for instance, a consulting group, you know, but we're also, you know, maybe also bringing up issues that might have to be dealt with in terms of the timetable that we're looking at and how long it would take to do things. I mean, I think if we kind present a little bit of a consensus on some of this stuff today, it would be helpful. For instance, what do we need to have, you know, what do we need to decide on that we want initially, you know, to start this whole process? Because we have to have some idea of what we want and what it would cost. And these two items together, 4B and 4A, kind of address that. And we're not trying to, at this point, come up with a specific recommendation, but I do think we're kind of trying to point out, you know, find areas that need attention.
Well, I think
Yeah.
the other thing that we should be doing, if you agree, is educating the board of directors as to what the process is and how to vet the consultants and our recommendations as to, you know, how that process would go ahead.
Mhm.
Okay, I think if we can, you know, get a report that says, this is the benefit assessment, this is how it works, this is, you know, what our recommendation as to what you do next, okay, and what the staff does next in order to move this process forward, if you decide to do. Okay, and I think educating them is gonna be a big benefit.
Yeah, sure.
Who would write that report to the board?
Well,
At this-
I'm happy to write it and then bring it to you guys. You
Yeah.
guys look at it,
Yeah,
So
edit it. And
yeah, I mean,
I think
next
that
next
would be
next
right.
meeting would be good to do
Right
that
step of the
for the
process.
next meeting. Yeah.
realistically, we're just here to say, do we want to move forward with the benefit assessment to the board to look at continuing moving forward? Is that
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
our,
that's what we're
that's why
doing.
we're here today?
Yeah, and this is actually,
We're not evaluating anything that's here. We're just deciding whether we should move forward with what we're looking at.
in terms of time frame, this is not, you know, Dave's final report. This is, you know, he's an ad hoc, ad hoc of one. This is kind of a report, a progress report on what, and we come back and give him feedback, which of course goes, you know, to the staff as well. I think there's kind of a consensus here a little bit emerging about, you know, what we're really want to see a robust, you know, opinion surveying process, whoever does it, because it's very crucial.
And outreach.
And outreach, as part of the process, which we of course participate in. In terms of what we want the consultant to do. I don't know if anybody else has any other things that just jumped out, because.
Yeah, I have one other thing that I asked Mr. Ross, okay, because of what happened last time, okay? You know that we passed the benefit assessment in 2004, and it's on the rolls, and we're getting about $500,000, a little more than $500,000 right now, every year from that benefit assessment, okay? Well, what happened was, over the years, because of our other obligations to the ranch, the fence hall, to other things, the slice of the property tax going to the fire department went from 90%, now it's down to 70%. Okay? And I said, Mr. Ross, I'm afraid that the same thing will happen. We pass this benefit assessment and get the fire department another $500,000 guaranteed to go to them. What prevents future boards of directors from taking more property tax money, okay? In other words, taking more funding away from the fire department and giving it to Parks, Rec, and et cetera, et cetera. Nothing. There's nothing you can do to stop that. You can't put in this benefit assessment that the property tax percentage for the fire department will never go less than 70%.
Can't limit it.
can't do that.
Can't do that, you know.
Can't do that as part of the benefit assessment. Now,
Can, can,
you might be able to do that as part of the ordinance, but your board of directors can always change the ordinance.
can you build into the benefit assessment an incremental increase in?
For inflation.
Yeah, and they do that,
Inflation.
that actually,
CPI
that's part of the current assessment as a CPI.
Okay, so there's a
Full,
CPI on it,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so, just to move on a little bit, you have anything else, Dave?
No, basically where I'm
Yeah.
at now, so.
Any more questions, Gordon,
There's
questions?
one comment, most some suggested a town hall meeting sometime during the process.
Several,
And
I think.
and is
several
that
would be-
just for the owners of the homes, I'm assuming, or the
Yes.
public invited as a, who was,
The people that own the homes are the people that we're going after that need to, give us their opinions as to whether they vote or not for this. I mean, renters can certainly come in and voice their opinion, but they're not gonna vote.
well, I think, well, that's why I'm saying, who's gonna influence the homeowner, so to speak? So, you have a townhouse, if you don't have people in town, can you,
Well,
that's-
that's part of the outreach, okay?
that's wondered,
Yeah,
those
we've
homeowners.
gotta send those homeowners enough information so they can make a educated
Like, okay,
decision.
Wasn't that part of what,
Yes,
yeah, they're gonna do that.
they're gonna help
They're
direct.
gonna just help do that, okay.
Yeah, that's part of the consultant's job.
We need a motion to move forward. Not yet.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we need a motion. I want to ask for public comment first before we move forward. We don't need a motion at this point. This is a progress report and input,
Okay.
which hopefully has been constructive. Is there anyone who wants to comment on this, on item 4A? Online or
No.
in-house? Okay, seeing none. I'd just say, just to wrap, to wrap it up a little bit. I think it sounds like we're obviously identifying a need for public outreach. Pretty serious need for public outreach. This is gonna be new to people. The process is not familiar. The needs, people are of course obviously very fire aware here, but we have to explain, first of all, and item 4B comes into this, we have to explain what it is we're looking for, what we want to pay for, and how it addresses the fire risk here. And so the benefit assessment process is itself kind of a barrier to understanding, because it is not like an election, not like a partial tax. It's not like a protest, it's not like not exactly like a Prop 218 protest either on rates, because it's
Not exactly.
so it's a different process and most people aren't familiar with it. So that would have to be explained. So there's quite a bit of public awareness here that has to be,
Yeah, a lot of education.
has to be done.
Almost a preliminary step in this is the department's own needs assessment that, I mean, you, chief, are gonna be responsible for putting together the wish list
That's what,
that goes into the.
that's 4B basically.
That's
4B that's what we're talking about in 4B.
Yeah.
And then the list is
Is that
there.
what we're doing?
Yes, exactly.
That's what
Exactly,
that
moving
is.
on to that, yeah.
We're not there yet.
Let's see what the chief of got.
I see the chief has got so far, and then we can comment on that, because that's something that we definitely want to talk about. So I think,
one more comment.
Yes.
You were mentioning a certain percentage that you could have for a benefit assessment, and you're still relying on the general fund. Is that not possible to get enough funding to have a specific, say, $3 million that they need as a number to have a fund you can count on year round without using the other fund? Or is that too much money?
Well, I think the consultant's gonna say that's gonna be too much money.
Oh, if we don't have any now, so what are you gonna do? And they can change the rules.
Yeah.
If you do it where it's set,
Right.
3% or
Yeah.
whatever, you say if you wanna live in Cambria, that's what
Yeah.
should be
I-
considered.
yeah, I was gonna, it's a little bit related to that, but the size of the amount of money we're looking for is really important. That's what we're gonna talk about in a second. But the reason I asked about the special versus general benefit question is that you can't just have a benefit assessment for general expenses that basically benefit everyone equally. And there's a kind of a lot of law on that, case law on that, which isn't fully settled, but the benefit for a particular property owner has to be special to that property owner. In other words, it has to be measurable for that one property. It can't just be something that's general, for the whole public and not differentiated. So that always comes into play when you're putting these, assessments together, because you have to have items that are not general benefit items. That's why when we talk about this, and that might be a problem. That's why you can't just cover all expenses with the benefit assessment, because a lot of the expenses are general, general services.
But if say my house is assessed a certain amount.
Yeah.
The money is taken away, goes somewhere else, then I'm no longer getting the benefit of that amount that I was given. Or that I'm paying for.
But the principle is you get the value back for your assessment.
How? They're taking.
I mean,
money out of
the
that
engineer
going-
that's the engineering study.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
But so I get, say my house is, I get whatever my increase is, the benefit for me is, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Now, that comes from this benefit assessment. Benefit assessment to my home was, say, I don't know what, $1,000 or something, whatever it was. Now, if you take money that $1,000 that was supposed to go to me to benefit my assessment, and you're taking part of that $1,000 and because you had a budget or you had a number, and maybe I'm thinking wrong, but you had a number and each house was assessed individually. You take some of that money and you put it over here, you're no longer receiving that $1,000 benefit to your home.
Which is, that's basically where
You're getting that benefit, you just aren't getting the property tax benefit anymore.
well, yeah.
But you wouldn't be getting the same benefit, wouldn't be getting that $1,000 worth of benefit to your house because you gave 70% somewhere else, 30, you know what I mean?
That's what the
So
legality,
that's where-
that's where it gets tricky. That's where it gets tricky. You have to.
Yeah. He said there's no way that you can put in the benefit assessment thing, a cap on it. What you
Yeah.
do with other taxes.
Right.
That's
Doesn't sound
entirely
legal.
elected.
You know, it's,
Doesn't sound legal to me. I know
Anyway.
that.
That's exactly what happened between two
No, I-
thousand and four and today. Exactly,
That's why we're.
why we're here.
I'll move on.
Yeah.
one quick question, the chief.
Yeah.
When you're up in Mill Valley, I sort of got the inkling that they had a set amount of money they put together for the fire departments and all the other agencies who are doing this emergency thing, that, I don't know where that money came from, though. Did you, by chance?
They're a
Is that-
city. They're a city.
That's fine.
Their funding is a lot different.
That's what I'm asking. How did we
But-
do something different is what I was
Yeah.
trying to get to.
To answer your question, no, I did not dive into where that funding came from. I know that there were a lot of kind of accessory kind of organizations that were
Right.
involved, much like the
Right.
Panga Canyon, they were a 501c3 on the outside of the fire department. And so there were a lot of those organizations that were involved with that.
And some
don't
take their
know.
own way to attend that drill process too, to sort of
Yeah.
experience it. But then I was getting a general trend of the whole county.
Yep, so I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
what their funding was or their sources.
I noticed that one of these, one of these consultants had done some work for South Marin
Right.
Fire District, which could have been something like a benefit assessment for, specific wildfire protection activities or something. Yeah, there could have been. I forget where I saw it, but.
It lists the fire departments in here that they.
Well, let's go on to 4B. Just to recap, this is about, what we would be seeking in the way of programs or improvements, funding for fire protection through the benefit assessment. So this is our first look, I think, at the staff proposals and priorities. I'll turn it over to Chief Berkey to present.
Yeah, we're on item 4B.
Yeah, 4B now, yes. The 1134. Please proceed, yeah.
Yeah, so I was asked to put together a kind of a fire department needs from kind of our point of view where we see the necessary steps for this assessment that would be effective. Number one on the list there is the sustainable fire department staffing and employee salaries. That we put that at number one for a reason. That's kind of where I'm seeing a big kind of non-sustainable problem that we have, that it's costing a lot more money to hire and outfit and then train our employees. That's really kind of, when you look at it from the kind of 10,000 point view, you go, well, that's a revolving door. What's it really affecting us? But it's affecting us a lot. It's a lot more than we've talked about in the past. And so, matter of fact, today I got notice that we just hired one of our full-time engineers is retiring. We hired one of our Safer Grant firefighters into that position, and he accepted initially. We now accepted a position with CAL FIRE just today is what happened. So we're constantly seeing that. And that's the reason is because they're paying substantially more. If you compare our salaries to other fire departments in the county, we are substantially less. And so we've talked about it before. If we can continue to add firefighters, but if we can't pay them, if we can't have a sustainable salary for them, then we're going to continue to spend money. We're going to continue. It's basically like we need to put a tourniquet on it at some point and stop the bleeding because that's just what we're doing. We're constantly doing that for all levels, captain, engineer, firefighters. And so it's becoming more and more difficult to retain employees. There's a lot of different ways we can do that, but that's the number one thing on our list is to figure out how we can create a sustainable and healthy work environment for our firefighters. Number two on there was the vegetation management and wildfire risk reduction. That's a big one. Clearly, that's what we're all here for. We're all trying to kind of figure out a way to mitigate a lot of the problems that we've been having that we're talking about. We're doing a great job, I think, even with the limited resources that we have, doing what we can. But this assessment is going to allow us to do much better. We're going to have, the potential of hiring a fire marshal, which would exponentially increase the ability to enforce and to inspect and to do all the things that we've been talking about. And most other fire departments have that position and they're, very successful. So, again, I can talk more about all of these in detail. If you guys have any questions, I'm just gonna go through the list here.
This is it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's in order of importance.
Yes, exactly.
Priority.
So the third one,
The comment under vegetation management, the fire marshal don't be a forest manager type person who knows stuff about forest.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that would be part of their qualifications for sure. Emergency response equipment and vehicles. So as you know, we've talked about our fleet. We're in the process of looking at purchasing another type 1. That's a revolving door as well. Every 10 years, this has to happen. So it's not just a one and done. So you have to plan for that. We have to look and see, I was here, it just seems like yesterday when we purchased the fire engine that we have sitting out there in the parking lot. So 10 years flies by. And then the planning process has to happen a little bit more, frequent. We've got an aging water tender. I mean, when I say aging, it's 20+ years old. So it's way out of date. It's still in pretty good condition. That's due to the care that these guys provide it and our mechanics have provided it. But it's definitely way past its service time. The EMS rescue equipment, all of these things, PPE, all of those things have expiration dates. They're not just a one and done thing. All the tools, every single one of those things get used not only on real kind of incidents, but also through training. And so every time we utilize those pieces of equipment, they get wear and tear and they need to be replaced. And then also just the materials themselves, even if they sit in a closet, they deteriorate after a time and then they need to be replaced. And so that's something that we ran into in the past where we weren't able to replace them. And so we had to, spend one giant sum of money to kind of catch us up to where we needed to be, and we're still not there. Typically, fire departments need, the primary set of turnouts or piece of PPE equipment and then a backup. And we still don't have adequate backups for them. So we had primary, but the adequate backup's not there, so. That's another one. Number 4 is the communication and alerting systems. So,
Question on number 3.
yes,
You have a number of fires that your fire trucks attend to per year, is that average?
fires themselves, I
Right,
can
but
get
they're
that.
using your equipment to use instead of driving
Yep.
around.
Yep, I can get that for
Is
you.
that high number? I mean, I don't know.
No, I
There
would
are a lot of ambulance type medical calls or I see that ambulance and a fire truck both come out as that, not considered a fire, right? A medical need.
No, so fires are gonna be in a different category. So actual structure fires, wildland fires, vehicle fires, all of those kind of, all of those fires would be categorized separately than a medical aid. There might be a medical aid due to the fire,
Right.
but, most of the time, those are gonna be separate incidents for sure.
Is there a reason why both come out for medical?
Yes, because we have paramedics on our engine. Oh, so we provide the initial medical care for them. And then the paramedic, the ambulance will
Yeah.
provide a transport.
Is it?
That's basically what they do.
Yeah, right. First kind of,
They
usually
went to smaller equipment to make that type 1 not have to come out so often. Is that sort of true or not?
No, our type 1 responds to all the medical aids in our, and that, so are you referring to the type 5?
Yeah,
So that type 5 is strictly for wildland capabilities and access here in our area. So we don't have the ability to get our type 1 into those areas, especially in some of the ranch areas that are really, really tight. That's what that one's for. It's a wildland firefighting. apparatus.
has it been discussed to maybe get a different type of quick response vehicles type thing, like maybe I
Like a
would think
SWAT,
ambulance,
yeah.
like a SWAT,
Yeah,
something like that.
Other areas.
That way
that's-
the wear and tear on the type 1 wouldn't be as great, would you?
The problem is that, with our staffing, so usually if you have that responding out to a fire incident excuse me, a medical aid.
Right.
And then a fire incident broke
Right.
or something that
Right.
needed, then you'd have to go back to the station, grab that piece of equipment and then respond. So it would create quite a
Or you'd have
delay.
to have more people still at the station.
Yeah,
That's
we're,
not possible.
right, where you're seeing a lot of like, with a lot of the larger agencies or the ones that have a little bit more resources, they're able to staff both of them at the same time. So they respond and then that type 1 is staffed as well.
Okay.
So,
yeah. And just continue to list here as much as you want to.
sure, yeah, communication alerting system. So this is just, again, updating. It's, as you know, our technology is rapidly increasing. We're quite a bit behind. So as we were starting to see with CAL FIRE and their dispatch capabilities, it's just something that constantly needs to be upgraded and looked at to make sure that we're getting the correct response. We're getting the correct alerts out to our community, not only for us to be alerted, but also to the community alerts as well. So this is all alerting systems. But as you can see there, it says 2-way radio network updates, community-wide alerting systems. All of this is in line with what the county's doing. We're trying to make sure that we're as they start communicating more through wireless technology, we want to make sure that our capabilities here can handle that. So that's obviously another benefit of this assessment. Community preparedness programs they're obviously going, but this would assist with that. There is a lot of as we move forward and as we start, using Topanga Canyon and Mill Valley as a kind of a model for the direction we want to go, we can see their resources and see their what they have available to them. And it's a lot. And so if we want to get there, if we want to make sure that our community is as prepared as they can, then we need to increase that, which means increase funding for that. Fire station and facility resilience. This is another big one. It's our 27-year-old fire station. I mean, I think I brought this to the committee's attention before, but it definitely needs significant upgrades in order to not only meet OSHA and NFPA NFPA standards, but just comfortability and that station was plain and simple, was never made for a full-time, fully staffed fire department like as we have now. It was more or less a reserve fire station at the time. Most of the bedrooms that they stay in are not bedrooms, they're just offices that were converted. And so, along with that, there's a lot of wear and tear that happens when you have these guys in and out of that fire station all day long, every day. It creates quite a bit of wear. And so just on everyday normal usage, not to mention, the apparatus bays are old, they're aging, they need to be replaced. So 27 years, although it doesn't sound that long in the whole scheme of things, we all have homes that are older than that. We have vehicles that are older than that at some time. So, but when you're talking about emergency services and what they need to be ready for, those have to be up to speed, and you can't have them failing during an emergency, storms or fires. You have to have them fully capable and ready to go at all times. And so that's where that's, as it says there, backup power systems, generators, seismic structuring, hardening, all of those things. Number 7, the evacuation studies and route creation. So this is something we've talked about before in the past. It's quite the task to, we can do the studies. I know we've had them done already, but the route creation is the big one. So how do we, move forward with some of the projects that we've talked about? Again, this is just another part of the benefit assessment. So then you can see the list of things there. So, and that's it. That's the last. I'm open to any questions.
Any questions from the committee?
I think it's important to note that, the fire station, if we were to get a new one or I don't know, somebody mentioned that might be a bond issue instead of being part of the benefit assessment. And I'm leery of that because if we get the benefit assessment passed and 2 years later they come out with a bond issue, what's the cleaning up again, right? So I think that needs to be brought up to the consultant when this happens, so that they understand that this is a need that needs to be funded, and they can help us make the decision whether it should be part of benefit assessment or whether they would recommend that being a bond issue later on.
Yeah, because it sounds like what you're saying here is you're not asking for a new station here. It's just, it's upgrades to the station. But if you expend money on upgrades to the station, it makes it even harder ultimately to get a new station funded, because you say, well, we just already, people say we already worked on it, we already fixed it.
Right.
So yeah, I noticed that too.
And this was an overview of all the needs
Yeah.
that we had to provide. So as the consultants come through and work with us, we would absolutely explain that to them. And I'm confident that they would do. Having seen their resume and what they've worked on in the past, and having dealt with the other fire departments who use these companies, confident that they would do a great job of ironing all of that out for us. So when we provide a complete list to them, they go, well, this isn't gonna work here, or what, they're gonna be able to kind
There are
of.
some things that
line
you're
us
just
out.
not supposed to put in.
Exactly, yeah, for sure. So when we look at I don't wanna say it's all inclusive list, sometimes it's not 100% appropriate, but that's a list that we have to provide to them, and they're able to kind of decipher which ones are appropriate.
Some of these things would seem easier to put dollar figures on than others. So, but I guess at some point we need dollar figures of some kind.
Yeah, and that's where the conversation with our finance manager would come in, and with our general manager to solidify that. Again, I think that's part of the process that the consultants would be doing. They would be doing the research and getting all of that brought together for us.
They help with it, yes.
Yeah, Gordon.
How does your station compare with Cal Fire's station that's existing? I don't know, I haven't seen it, I heard it's pretty good size.
Yeah, they're, you're starting to see CAL FIRE around our county, do massive upgrades to their, and that's another reason why they're, you've watched engine, Station 30 over in Paso. They just revamped that entire station. I don't know if you have a chance to look down there. Right, this is another one. So, yeah, yeah.
About 2 or 3 year project.
The more they upgraded theirs.
Yeah, yeah, so you're starting to see these upgrades. Templeton is right now in the process of doing that. Morro Bay is right in the process of doing it as well. They're, again, the age, you know, you say 27 years and you start looking at normal homes, that's not really that much time. It really doesn't, you know, but if you're looking at an emergency response station, that gets the amount of use that it does and what it's necessary for during those emergencies, that's where you start going, okay, you don't want 27 years old station in the middle of a fire threat or in the middle of a storm emergency where we have to have these guys have power, they have to have emergency capability. So that's where you start looking at it and saying, that's why these things have to be upgraded and taken care of a lot more diligently than you would a personal residence. And again, you're starting to see a lot of the county is doing that right now. They're in the process of upgrading their fire stations. They're in the middle of recognizing that need and saying, okay, we have to do this because again, technology is moving very rapidly. So.
Any other questions? I had a comment and a suggestion, maybe we discuss a little bit. It sounds like going back to our public outreach discussion earlier. I have the thought that this would be a very interesting list to survey people on as to their priorities, because it's going to have to go to a vote, and we don't know. You know, at this point, you know, people haven't seen the list, they haven't seen the prioritization of it. It'd be interesting to see. I don't know how you do this, and if the consultant, you need a consultant for it, but how people would rank these items and what they would think, you know, the least, they'd have the least appetite for paying for. I mean, and the most appetite for paying for. To know that going in would help inform our selection of what we finally put in this package for a benefit assessment. If we go that route, I would think. I don't know how you do that, but to get some kind of feedback from the people who are going to be asked to approve this.
These consultants have done a lot of these.
Yeah.
And I think they probably already have a sense as to which items are people are going to say yes to and which items are gonna go, that's,
Yeah.
you know, we're not gonna pay for that. Okay, so I think that's a reasonable thing to, you know, have the consultant. You know, move in and say, you know, if you put that in there as part of the assessment, it's gonna go down in feet, right? Because we've seen that at this place, and this place.
And that might be part of their process. I don't know.
Yeah.
That might already be something that they've already built in, right?
Yeah, definitely a good question.
Yeah.
Will you be willing to do that?
Yeah.
But I think-
Or why not? You know,
Yeah.
no, we've seen that have a negative, you know.
My experience in political instincts tell me that if you're asking for money for something new, like an additional, like a fire marshal would be an example of that, or a program that is not being funded now that people want to see, it's a stronger case than something to maintain the status quo. At least in the perception of people, having to do it, and I don't want to say anything that, gets people mad, but the salaries retention issue is one of those things that's, in my experience, less of, harder to sell for a new tax or a new assessment, than to say, if you're gonna have, this, the second item, for instance, I think, would be
The wildfire.
better, that whole package, vegetation management, wildfire risk reduction, which is, people realize we need it and we don't necessarily have the staffing for it. I feel this about evacuation routes too, but if you're gonna do a new thing, I think it's a better sell. I mean, the consultants may say the same thing. I think, as David says, this is these elections have been around for a while, or these ballots have been around for a while, and there's sort of a track record they have. And again, another suggestion I would make, as we get down to the money is, which of these needs that you identify might be, financed out of, shifting some of our current capital budget, to the benefit assessment, like for instance, equipment. Would that open up some money for operations, for the salaries, enhancement, stuff like that? Would there be some, that's something, I think Denise is probably the best, Ms. Fritz is probably the best person to talk with about that. Is there some rearrangement of the categories where some stuff that is, on the capital side especially, could be subject to the assessment or funded by the assessment, freeing up some money that's already in the general fund? So that's another thing I was, thinking of. I don't know if anybody has any comments on that yet, Ron.
And not specifically on that, but as we were going through, or Chief was going through the list, there's like 3 or 4 items that coincide with the California Wildfire Prevention Program. So I was gonna ask David, can some of these be worked into the funding or whatever through that? And then that would save money in the long run for the fire department? Is that something that's feasible or?
Well, yeah, some of it, okay, could be funded by grants.
Okay.
Which is what we're talking about with the.
Right.
The problem with a grant is that it's one time, okay?
Mhm.
So you get that funding this year, but like the safer grant, we didn't get it
Right,
this year,
right.
okay? So you can't depend upon that money, okay? And, so grant things should be very focused on a one-time purchase.
Okay.
Trying to get a grant to buy a fire engine is a great idea,
Right.
okay? But trying to get a grant for a fire marshal is not a good.
Right,
thing.
well, I'm thinking more of like, it says community and alerting systems, like community-wide alerting system, 2-way radios, GIS mapping, stuff like that would seem
Yes.
feasible
That's
as grant.
That's grant.
Yeah, whereas that could be a huge, county could do what, even the county would work with
Yeah.
stuff like that, you know what I mean? That's why
Or
I'm thinking
evacuation route,
evacuation routes, like,
that's
yeah,
a one-time thing.
Yeah, actually, the Fire Safe Council is currently working with the chief
Yeah.
on evacuation
Evacuation,
plan
right.
and that kind of stuff.
okay,
Through a grant that we received to do that kind of work. Okay, so that is feasible because it's a one-time thing. Now, a lot of the CAL FIRE grants, you can't do planning with with that monies. You have to actually do stuff, okay,
Right.
like fuel reduction,
Right,
forest health, or buy a fire engine. Okay, you can't do evacuation planning with a lot of those grants.
Hmm.
So the Fire Safe Council has been able to get other grants, okay, that aren't tied to, actual work in order to get that kind of stuff.
okay, it's just. Gordon and I are working on the whole wildfire prevention thing, and so I was like, I'm looking at this going,
Yeah, some of
these are all,
it is,
well, it's like, we're gonna present the same thing to you guys again, a lot of this stuff. That's why it's like,
yeah, this is what needs to be done.
yeah,
And there are separate vehicles to
Right.
get that stuff done.
maybe I should come to the fire safe group or something.
So
What's
that's, it
going on,
sounds to me
but I
like
don't know,
that,
it's like, I'll learn
to
more
bring
about
that back
how
to
it
the
works.
development
Basically,
of the,
I think the Fire Safe
Yeah.
Council meeting might be instructive.
to bring this back to the development of the assessment package. I think one of the things that has to be considered in, updating and basically doing this, going over this, is there an alternate source, some kind that is feasible, like grants or general fund, and then if, I guess you kind of I might narrow the list slightly by doing that, which is help, because I do think the list, this would be, I think all this stuff would be too much for people to process. Yeah, you have to kind of tighten it.
And if I were to do that just off the top of my head, it would literally be the fire department, the staffing and salaries, and then the vegetation wildfire management. In the face of, or in the way of a fire marshal. So those two positions are something that would be very difficult to find sustainable funding through, for a long term. The fire engine, or the equipment
Yeah,
replacement, potentially, the fire station, same thing, maybe potentially.
Potentially.
Yeah, potentially, yep. So all of those things have the potential, but again, when we're looking at an overall list of what the fire department needs are, I don't even feel like there's more up there that we need, but I think this just generally is a great overview.
It's an excellent list. Present to the consultant so that he can help you.
Yeah, it's a great starting point.
yeah, I think we agree with that, yeah. Yeah.
So is it the recommendation of the committee that I try to draft a benefit assessment, educational kind of, this is the next steps. Board of directors, if you so decide to move down this path and.
Yeah.
I'd say yes.
Enough information, they can make a decision.
I would say yes.
Yeah, you
As
bring it
of the
back.
next meeting, you guys can then edit it and say, yeah.
Decide this,
this.
yeah, that's a good idea.
I think our next
Ron?
meeting, we have to present the wildfire plan too, so I don't know how that will all interact with what this was gonna end up.
I think what Dave is proposing is a plan for public outreach or public education,
Okay.
right? Not the content of the plan, not the specific proposals, but
Well,
the,
kind of next steps.
yeah, next
step,
steps would
okay.
be, I mean, obviously
Yeah.
developing, next step is obviously to develop a description with numbers, costs of what the assessment package would be, what would be funded. So the funding, and that's back to staff basically to work on that, I think.
Okay,
Dave, you could come back with a, some kind of, basically report on outreach, just a timetable, I think, what we want to do next. Next steps for, we recommend to the board, you want to, get an RFP, send an RFP for consultants. Maybe, I don't know what specific things they would do on public outreach, but it's clear we have to do quite a bit of education and public outreach on just the process, something else. And then, that would be your report coming back, and we could, it's something that'd be a recommendation of the board. That'd be good, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Probably plan on there. Art,
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
These proposals came to you as a result of your informal request? Or did the board make was it a?
Your informal
was it a board
request.
RFP?
it was just
You just
Informal
asked.
request.
strictly informal, yeah.
Then I need something that I can show.
Got it.
And we're looking at today mainly is, to educate ourselves in the process. This is what these guys do, basically.
Yeah.
And understand why we need a consultant and get a general sense of the cost. It's a little north of 100,000 probably. Get a general sense of what we'd be signing up for. That's what the idea was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So this is preliminary to the board putting out a formal RFP.
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, exactly.
And I told them.
Yeah.
Cost for requirements, commission.
Hmm?
They're in charge for
No.
putting this together.
This is,
Most of that's pretty boiler.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
We had one.
I know.
Wait for it.
it's what they send out, sort of a calling
And I
card.
told
It's already in the can. so-
Exactly, yeah. I mean, they
I did these all the time.
basically talked to Dave and after Blair Ross talked to you, and I noticed the next day there was something in Matt McElhenney's mailbox. This thing, and they want to get to know us and
Yeah.
do work for us. They know it's not a bidding process though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they know this isn't their final proposal
Yeah.
and everything. I told them that. I said,
Yeah.
I just need something that I can share as to what the process would look like and ideas of what the cost is
Yeah.
gonna be.
I wanted, before we get off this topic, I wanted to get public comment on item 4B on this, especially on the list. from the fire department, from the staff. Does anybody here want to comment on it? You guys are just, listening. Does anyone, yeah, does anyone, online want to comment on this item or B? I've got 5 people out there. I know one of them can't talk virtually. Okay, well, thank you. I think we, again, on item 4A, we go ahead, Dave's report next month. And I think next month, what would staff be able to produce in the way of a more detailed list? Keith?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
In a month from now,
Communicating
in a month
with
from now,
our
what-
manager, but.
Yeah, I know. What do you think staff would be able to come up with in the way of a list with a little more content, a little more detail, and especially with some sense of the numbers, this is the costs? Is that too soon?
Yeah, I mean, that as far as, yeah, that's gonna take a while, I would imagine. I'll reach out to Denise. I mean, I've already talked to her a little bit about it, but that, just giving her that list.
I think we're gonna have a pretty big schedule just with their report.
I mean, yeah, we get their report and yeah, you guys are gonna be reporting and Bob Putney will be here, so.
And I don't wanna speak for Denise, but I would imagine that's gonna be quite the task, so I don't wanna, I'd have to talk to her before I got a timeline back.
Yeah, I know. An audit time coming up for her too, I think, pretty soon.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so. No public
So
comment.
can I ask a
Art,
quick
yes.
question about the benefit assessment cost process? So I guess what happens is we determine what our needs are and the cost of those needs. Then they go out and look at how that would be apportioned out among all of the property owners, right? And come up with a specific number that in the aggregate covers all
Right.
of those potential costs.
Yeah.
That's the way it works?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And as we said earlier,
They're trying to understand
the
it.
consultant will be working with us in developing that package in the first place.
Right.
In other words, they'll say, you're gonna ask, you can only ask for basically so much, pretty much. There's a limit and they're gonna say this sort of thing usually does work well, it's usually very popular, this sort of thing is usually not very popular. So you get that kind of feedback from them, based on their experience as you develop the package with the dollar figures. Then it goes to the engineering process, which is what you were talking about. Yeah, okay. So everybody has something to do. Good. That's a sign of success, I guess. The last item I think on the agenda is future agenda items. We already kind of identify, one we're gonna have is gonna be the report from the subcommittee on, the ad hoc committee on the, wildfire protection plan. So on the 17th. Any others people want to suggest?
I'll have my
Oh, and then, Ms. Pearson's report.
draft of a.
Draft with the recommendation, basically, what we want to send on to the board. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's, nobody else has any others to offer? Chief, do you have anything you wanted to suggest for the?
I guess we can look into this. So it's been brought to my attention by a couple of community members that they wanna get rid of, fire pits, fires altogether. And so that might be something we wanna look into the feasibility of. I've kind of been doing my own research and but if we wanted to add that on there just for discussion, it might be something we can bring up. To see what that looks like as far as changing our ordinance. Or the feasibility of changing the ordinance, whatever, what the committee thinks about that. That might be something we could put on them.
Mr. Carmel is gonna be.
Right.
His opinion on that is gonna be key.
Right.
Can we do it?
Yeah.
Legally, if we can, then I think it's a discussion we ought to have.
Yeah, and I mean, I believe it would just be, a kind of an addendum to the ordinance that we have already or
Yes.
change, so which is not unheard of, you know, we've done that in the past, but, yeah, again, how
I
that
think it's
process,
feasible because we've outlawed fireworks.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing,
right,
okay? But I think just asking Carmel, you know, can we do this? Have other people done this? And if he says yes, then I think it's a good discussion to have.
okay.
You know, how to,
That'd be good to get it, so you get his input in the meantime.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had personal experience with that, so I'm interested in seeing.
Yeah, I got,
We talked about all types of outdoor.
That's what the
Fire pit,
discussion would be,
because then
we would have the
There's
discussion,
that, the gas that's like controlled, and then you get the wood, which is different.
then that would be
So,
the discussion, what we
would
wanna
be
look at, yeah.
One
What we
or
want,
the other, or both, or all, or.
Going to be another.
yeah,
Major,
what that
yeah.
looks like,
Yeah.
what the, you know, risks are, you know, and we can talk about all of that, and what. If and, you know, when, what it looks like, as far as if we wanna change that word.
Out of control.
Well, doesn't the fire, the ordinance says now, it has to, if it's a wood fire, it's gotta have a screen over it, right? Something like that, it has to have some kind of
Yeah.
spark,
but that's
prevention.
right, but it's removable.
Yeah, exactly, removable and the
You
screens,
don't know
the screens
whether it's
rust
being
out,
used.
the
You have
screens
to
rust
take it off
out
to put
and,
more wood in.
yeah, also, and the fire can get, you can get a really bad, you know, big fire going there all, you know, put too much dry wood in.
Happened next door. Fire was going 40 feet.
Yeah.
With embers.
So, yeah, there's, I mean, clearly, like, that's why the discussion I think is necessary, but I feel like there are different avenues we can go, you know, do we wanna just say no blanket outlaw all the fires and say, nope, we're no longer ever to have a fire, or do we upgrade the, you know, do we kind of look at it and say, well, during red flag events, obviously none, maybe educating the, cause what we're seeing a lot of is, the VRBOs or the renters coming in and not following any of the regulations. So we just, that's the conversation we need to have, you know, I hesitate to say blanket no fires ever. You know, I think we have a pretty good winter season here that I think, you know, is not inappropriate to have fires. Plus, we have to look at what the, you know, result, if you do the research, most of the time, those types of fires are not causing larger wildfires. You know, you're looking at unattended campfires, something along those lines, but typically fires that are in pits that are, have those regulations
Right.
that are enforced aren't causing fires for sure, as far as like the percentage of what actually causes wildfires and all that.
Yeah.
So we have to look at all of that and kind of take that into consideration before we just blanketly say no more fires. That's what I would like to do. And hear everybody's comments and figure out, you know, what direction the committee feels like would be the best, you know, and give us some
That
input.
sounds good, that sounds, yeah, something we'll talk about. Anything else? Okay, so I would hereby adjourn this meeting at 12:12 PM. Thank you, everybody.